I want to talk to you guys about Germany selling submarines to the Turks and how this is terrifying the Greeks. So, Germany just recently sold numerous submarines to the Turks, and these submarines can go for 3 weeks underneath the water, and they have very, very little noise emission, which means it's going to be difficult to hear these things coming, which means they are good at spying and they are good at ambushing, and they would have the capability of neutralizing Greece's anti submarine apparatus. And this is why the Greeks are so terrified, because with Germany selling this type of military technology to Turkey, it's going to shift the balance of power in favor of Turkey, thereby giving Turkey geopolitical leverage over the Mediterranean and leaving Greece at the disadvantage in this conflict, in these tensions. So, The Economist just put out an article on this, and I want to read to you guys some excerpts from it. So, there are some quotes from a professor from King's College London. His name is Emmanuel Karagiannis. And as I read these excerpts, they will have some quotes from this academic. So, the first excerpt I have from this article says, the subs may be armed with medium-range anti-ship missiles, which could, quote, largely neutralize Greek anti-submarine warfare capabilities, adds Mr. Karagiannis, although much depends on how well Turkey can integrate its indigenous weapons into the German design. So I just want to touch upon this for a little bit here. Turkey has been gradually pursuing technological independence, especially when it comes to military technology. And this is why Turkey, within recent years, has been integrating its own technology with things like American aircraft, American military jets, which it purchases from the United States, which it has been purchasing from the United States, I should say. And so you're beginning to see the Turkish pursuit for technological independence. And if Turkey is going to become an empire, it's going to need to become militarily independent when it comes to technology. And I think that as the years go by, you're going to be seeing more and more of a closer partnership, or really the deepening of commercial ties between the Germans and the Turks, especially when it comes to military technology. This reminds me of what happened right in the advent of World War I. Turkey had purchased two giant naval ships from Great Britain, and then you had the outbreak of World War I, and the British said, sorry, Turkey, we're going to be using these ships. This greatly angered the Turks, and so the Turks eventually bought two giant naval ships from the Germans. So there has been a history of deep commercial ties, and this goes alongside with military technology as well, between the Turks and the Germans. And remember, when Germany became an official nation in the early 1870s, one of the first things that the Germans did was make an alliance with the Ottoman Empire. So this isn't just about making money. It's also based upon historical ties and an historical alliance that goes all the way back to the late 19th century. And the Germans and the Turks have never been enemies. Germany and Turkey have never been enemies. They have been allies historically. And so when we look at what's been happening between the Germans and the Turks today, and Germany selling this sort of technology to Turkey, and then you have the Greeks begging the Germans to stop selling this type of weaponry to Turkey, and the Germans just keep telling the Greeks the same thing, 999. And this is amidst all of the tensions that Turkey has been having with other countries. And remember what happened recently. Germany told Turkey, you guys are getting a little too out of hand in the Eastern Mediterranean. And it looked all of a sudden that Germany was having tensions with Turkey. But then you look at the fact that, well, Germany is still selling high-tech military technology to Turkey. So they're not really enemies. And I think that these disputes, these so-called disputes that Germany has been having with Turkey, I think this is all really a show to make it look as though Germany is not completely in cahoots with the Turks. It's kind of like what happened a number of years ago when you had Pastor Andrew Bronson being a hostage to the Turks. And he was this pastor, and he was being persecuted for his faith. And the Americans said, "Oh, Turkey, you better let that pastor go." But the reality was that even if Turkey didn't let that pastor go, America was still going to make a deal with Turkey to allow the Turks to rule over northern Syria, to take over northern Syria. So a lot of this stuff is just all for show. When behind the curtains, they're making money amongst themselves. They're selling weaponry. They're maintaining historical alliances. Meanwhile, they're putting up this show for the media. The Rice class is a version of Germany's Type 214, which is operated by the navies of Portugal, South Korea, and Greece itself. An important feature is air-independent propulsion, AIP, which allows subs to go without the air supply that a diesel engine would usually require. A traditional diesel-electric sub can stay underwater for 2 or 3 days. Those with AIP can do so for 3 weeks, says Johannes Peters of the Institute of Security Policy Kiel, and with almost zero noise emissions compared with noisier nuclear-powered subs whose reactors cannot be turned off. That is perfect for the shadow waters around Greco-Turkish flashpoints. So the Greeks are terrified for a reason. The Turks have these submarines that can stay underneath the water for 3 weeks. They produce very little noise, which means these things are going to be good for ambushing, and they're going to be good for spying. The subs will reshape the naval balance between Greece and Turkey, says Emmanuel Karagiannis of King's College London. Several EU countries limited arms exports to Turkey in 2019 following its offensive in Syria, but after last year's kerfuffle in the Mediterranean, Germany, Italy, Spain, and others blocked a Greek push for a full arms embargo. So the Germans said, "Nope, Greece, nope, there's going to be no arms embargo on Turkey." The Italians said the same thing. The Spanish said the same thing. Then on June 13th, Germany's ruling party rejected a motion backed by socialist and green parties to stop weapons sales to Turkey. Germans say, "Nope, 9, we are going to make money with the Turks. We're going to sell them weapons. We don't care if they want to revive the Ottoman Empire." And anyone who studies geopolitics, anyone who studies the geopolitics of the Mediterranean will tell you that Turkey is pursuing reviving its empire. And anyone will tell you, anyone who has studied Erdogan seriously will tell you that Erdogan fantasizes about being a sultan. He wants to be a sultan. He wants to revive the Ottoman Empire. He wants to be Mehmet II. That's what this guy wants to be. He wants to be the great sultan that all these people sing to, and you have dancing dervishes making music and dancing to him, and you have belly dancers, and you have people smoking hashish in his name. That's what this guy wants. And anyone who studies the geopolitics of Turkey will tell you this, that Erdogan fantasizes about being a conqueror. He wants to have global empire. And by global empire, I don't mean he's going to take over the whole world. By global empire, I mean he's going to have an empire that the whole world is going to have to respect in some way or another, even its enemies. And the Germans know this, and they don't care. They don't care because the Germans, think about this, guys. Really put your mind to this. Think about it. Put yourself in Germany's shoes. For decades, you had this thing called the EU. You're making tons of money through the EU. You have this free trade zone, and you're happy with all the money you're making. You want to have an empire, and you want to, bring back the Reich. But in a way, you have your own economic Reich, and you're controlling Europe without having to pull triggers and fire bullets. But then Great Britain leaves the EU. Oh, Great Britain leaves the EU. Great Britain was the biggest financer for the EU's military defense. Now Britain is gone. So where does that leave the Germans? It leaves the Germans in the position to be the defense for Europe. And the Americans are becoming more and more recluse. They're becoming more and more isolationist. Trump has said some mean things about Merkel. Trump has basically said to hell with the EU. He openly supported Brexit. And he also said that he wants to get rid of NATO. And the Germans said, "Oh, well, this leads me to believe that I cannot trust the Americans for our defense." And there was a report from Congress. You can read it. It's from 2008. And it says that if the day ever came where Germany gets the perception that America no longer cares about its defense, Germany will pursue the possession of nuclear weapons. This is from a 2008 Congress report. I think it was from the Committee on Foreign Relations or something like that. But it was stated within the U.S. government. And Germany knows that America is not going to be around. Germany knows that Great Britain is also isolating itself. And Great Britain doesn't really care so much about the European Union. I mean, it left the EU. It said to hell with the EU. So the Germans are going to have to reshape the current structure of the EU in order to make it more and more favorable to the Germans, to give more power to the Germans. And so over the years, you're going to start to see the EU reshape into something else. And pretty soon, it's just going to be a German-controlled Europe. And you're going to have maybe other countries, perhaps other countries leave the EU, but you're going to have some countries more and more hostile to Germany, and you're going to have some countries that will be very close to Germany and that will make alliances with Germany. But Germany knows this. Germany already knows that one day the current status quo system is going to be gone, and it's already falling apart. It's already falling apart. Remember years ago, Germany had this white paper warning where it talked about possible destructive scenarios in the future, and one of them was that the EU, as we know it today, will be gone. And even the CIA put out a report for what to expect for the 2040s. And one of the things that it says that we should expect is America no longer being the one sole power over the world, and we should expect blocks of power running different parts of the world. And it talks about a European bloc. Well, who's going to rule that European bloc? It's not going to be Hungary. It's not going to be Romania. It's not going to be Switzerland. It's going to be the Germans. So the Germans know this. They know more than we do. And the Germans understand that they need to have a strong alliance. I remember not too long after Brexit, there was already talk about Turkey filling up the place of Great Britain. I remember reading about this. They were saying this, that Germany didn't say this itself. That would be way too revealing. But they were geopolitical analysts talking about how it's possible that Turkey could play a role of filling up the power vacuum left by Great Britain. So Germany knows it's going to need a strong alliance with a strong country. Turkey is a strong country. Germany understands that it's going to, if it wants to have an empire, if it wants to be a major player in geopolitics, which it says it wants to be, then it's going to need to make strong alliances with the most powerful country in the Islamic world, especially the Islamic world on the Mediterranean, and that is Turkey. So Germany understands this. And so basically Germany doesn't want to risk angering the Turks. So it's got to sell weapons to Turkey. It's got to make sure that Turkey gets good weapons so that it can be a force to be reckoned with. It says here that the subs may be... I already read this. So yeah. That's my opinion on this issue. History is rhyming. It's not going to completely repeat itself, but it definitely is rhyming, everyone. You guys just heard some theology. God bless.